As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in? How could it? Surreal and difficult in part, yes. This has been a long time coming. Do you
Okay, this is already needed to be stopped and analyzed, because what she's doing when the first asked question by this reporter, Savannah, from the Today Show, the exclusive interview, the first part of Amber Heard, the first question was, let's replay it.
As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in?
In acting, that's something that we all know. People who know acting the way that they should know acting know you don't sigh before responding. You don't sigh before you say your line. The sighing means that you are deflating. If you're deflecting when you're being asked a question, and the way that she puts the head down, if that was a character, if that was an actor that I was working with, because this is what my analysis comes in. It comes in from the perspective of an acting coach. And that means that I would work in a rehearsal with somebody, let's just say a character is doing a interview. So the first thing that I would do, I would stop and I would say, can we do another take? Can we redo this first opening? The question is being asked. You look at her, you don't look down, you don't sigh, because that gives you away. It gives you away because it means that there's something going on that you don't want to say. It means that you're afraid of the answer, which means that you're not telling the truth. Because if you are to tell the truth, you would have the answer. The answer spontaneously will come to you if you're being authentic. But if you're not, and if you're so careful in your lies, then you have to take time. You sigh, which is a sign of fear. That also gives you time, and then you answer.
How could it? Surreal and difficult in part, yes. This has been a long time coming. Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse? Of course, to my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony. The real life drama of the defamation case between...
To my dying day, do you stand by that, what you said, by your accusations that you made against Johnny Depp? To my dying day. That is such a general comment to make. A village where I'm from in Transylvania, Romania, where I grew up, my childhood was, older women who were so believing in a higher power, and they were also believing in superstitious acts. So if you were having a conversation with one of them, and I don't even know why that comes to mind, but if you're having a conversation with one of them, and not just women, but anybody from the village, that's what kind of I was reminded when she said that I will stand by that till my dying day. It's almost like the exaggeration in the statement is so unfounded. It's as if somebody would swear about something to make the other person believe they're telling the truth, by then saying, I swear on my children's life, I swear on my whatever is the most precious to you. It is a statement that comes out of someone, again, who in her mind knows there is a little bit of a missing truth to what she's saying. The intention of wanting to make the other person believe that you're speaking the truth. You're going for it in a way that's enormous. I will stand by that till my dying day. to say that you are willing to give up your life, which she knows that that's not going to happen actively. There's no way of changing what the trial was about. The trial was already done. The trial went on the normal way of what a trial should go on as. She had her lawyers to defend her. Johnny Depp had his lawyers to defend him. There were facts that were missing from her side. She did not have any factual, practical, anything to base her, I stand by what I said till my dying day. So that comment had to be so much more. And that's why she made it, because she knows she's not supported by factual truths.
Amber Heard and her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, captivated millions of people around the world.
Amber Heard just got exposed.
Johnny, you hit me.
This is so cringe. With clips spreading across social media like wildfire.
I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok, and the jury is not.
No, Amber Heard, the reason why you were being mocked so much in the social media is because people who were listening to you during the trial realized very soon, because they're not stupid, we are not stupid as audience members, because since the trial was being televised, the people watching were your audience. We got it very fast, the same as everybody else watching, millions or billions of people, that you were not authentic. You were not speaking the truth. You were saying one thing, and then the next day when you were on the stand, you were saying completely a different thing, or you were trying to diminish the so-called truth that you experienced the day before in your description by saying, well, yeah, he broke my nose the first time. My nose was broken. And then when you got cross-examined by Johnny Depp's team, showing you the facts that there was no medical record, you had nothing to show that your nose was broken, then you took it back and you said, well, it felt like it was broken. It felt like it was broken. That's what it felt to me. This is not about what you felt. This was such a big, huge defamation against a great actor as Johnny Depp. And I'll get to that when everybody doesn't understand the difference between great acting, and they say that great acting requires or makes the actor be a good liar. It's completely the opposite. It's so misunderstood. I hate when people say that, because that's not at all how it is. Great acting demands truthful behavior that comes from your psychological understanding of what it is to be human. Bad actors lie, and this is what she's doing. So when she is talking about being mocked by the social media, and that's why the trial was not fair, it doesn't make sense again. So she's completely changing the whole truth of what happened at the trial. The media started mocking you very soon after they saw you be a farce, after they realized, as they are smart audiences, that you're not a credible human being, you're not a credible witness. So it's not the way that you're trying to switch it around to say the social media intervened and that's why you didn't get a fair trial. It's the opposite. You lied and they recognized and then spread your lies by showing how you are not credible and doing the sketches that they did all over different platforms of social media.
To that,
You think the jury saw it?
how could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying, burn the witch, death to
Because you lied.
Amber. After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal, energized.
Can you put into words how that felt?
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through.
The fact that she's saying that the audience, in this case, the jurors, must have seen all of the social media against her. She's saying that the jurors were not fair in their decision. So she's putting down the jurors now. It's not enough that she was putting down Johnny Depp throughout the relationship from all the audio tapes that we listen. Now she's diminishing the jurors. She's always acting from a place of superiority. She's saying, oh, how could I not have seen? How could I not have seen how people were mistreating me? The unfairness that I was getting on social media. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they saw it or if they did not see it. Give them the respect that they took the instructions of the judge, by the way, who was an amazing judge, and they did not see it because they did not have to see anything that was happening outside the courtroom. All they needed to see was you in that courtroom being a liar in the way that you testified. You testified with lies that anybody would have perceived to be lies. They didn't need to go to social media. So I don't even know where this kind of thought comes into your mind or how this is making any sense to you, but you're still trying to reverse the truth of what happened, and you're still trying to play the victim. The jurors did not see any outside news because they were instructed not to. They did not need to, Amber Heard, because they saw everything that they needed to see to find you a liar within the trial. Everybody saw it. Again, you, Amber, have the impression that audiences are stupid. So you're diminishing us too. You're diminishing the people watching. We are not stupid. We don't need to be spoon-fed. This is the same when you go to see a show. If a character, if an actor is going to explain details, what he or she is saying or doing, the audience doesn't become engaged. You push the audience away because you, in your testimony, already consider the jurors to be stupid in the way that you were presenting your side of the story. You lied and you expected them to be stupid enough to not see through your fakeness. My God, even now you're doing that. Even now you're putting everybody down. So it's another confirmation that what you did to Johnny Depp is actually true because you continue to do it with other people.
I've never felt more removed from my own humanity. I felt less than human.
Let's go back to the day of the verdict.
I never felt less removed from my humanity. That sounds like such a great line from any play or script. I never felt so much removed from my humanity. If you're going to say that, knowing that it's a line, again, that's going to be heard and that's going to be paid attention to, the way you're saying it, Amber, is not sounding credible. You can't even be credible in your own lies. I never felt so removed from my humanity. If I'm going to say that to somebody who has done wrong to me, I would do it without the emphasis in the emotion that's underneath it. Because if you're saying such a grave line, such a profound line, if you're also adding the emotion into it, then it is automatically becoming a fake, bad acting. So I would tell my actor that I was working with, let's try it one more time. And I want you to imagine, what is the response with that line to? What did the person, the other character, the other actor, in this case, what do you see as specific that was done to you that it made you feel like you were removed from your humanity? And if you focus on that, if a great actor focuses on what that specific action towards him or her was, you say the line in a different way. You just say it differently. I felt so removed from my humanity, knowing in the way that you're saying it, that you're actually making a huge statement. So you're actually becoming aware of that, and then you say it, and then it sounds true because you realize the huge power that it has when you say it. But she doesn't even know that. So she's emphasizing that by putting emotion into it, which gives her away immediately. Lie, wanting to, again, distract, wanting to get attention by using these huge expressions. Just because you're using a line, just because the text is powerful, if you don't back it up with the truth, it loses its power. The text, the line loses its power, the same way that he lost it here with her. Give me a break.
Were you feeling confident?
Do you see again? Okay. Are you feeling confident? Okay. Amber Heard, I don't know what your acting teacher, acting coach that testified was teaching you for so many years, or for so many times that you said that you have met, or she said that you have had sessions, hundreds and hundreds. You're not going to sigh within the next couple of minutes when doing an interview. If I am working again with my actor and I see the actor sighing over and over again, it's a repetitive action that the first time you do it, okay, it might work, it might not work. But the second time you do it, since it's the same, it's not going to be useful for the actor, because the audience is going to see that something that you do on purpose to be manipulative, to manipulate the audience. So the audiences have a part of their brain, I don't know enough medical knowledge to be able to explain how the brain works, but the great Ellen Burstyn, who is one of the presidents of the Actor Studio, and I had the pleasure to work with her on stage. She's been moderating a lot of the times that I worked on that sacred stage. She explains it so well when she says there's a part of the brain, of our human brain, that when we watch a performance, and a performance, again, is not a lie. A performance is, again, truth, 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 sustained by truth, 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 truth. So she says, when you're lying to the audience, when you're making gestures of sighing, or let me do this, trying to bring the audience to me, to manipulate them, you're actually pushing the audience away, because they're smart enough in that part of their brain to say, why is she trying to play as if I'm stupid? And why is she trying to pretend like I'm not smart enough to understand that she's trying to manipulate me? So you're doing the same thing, sighing and sighing and sighing and sighing. Those people watching, if you guys are watching or if you're listening, try doing something over and over again in a conversation with someone, rolling your eyes, moving your head in the same direction, and see how that person is going to react to your behavior. They're going to be like, what are you doing? Is everything okay? What's happening? In the sense of, why are you acting up? Why are you overdoing this? What's wrong with you? The same with her. It doesn't matter. The difference between a human and the difference between an actor, that actor is still a human. What I try to do as an acting teacher and as an acting coach is, when I work with actors, to make them learn in front of an audience, in front of audiences on screen or on stage, to behave like human beings in the most truthful, in the most honest, and the most credible way. So actors are more real and more truthful, those who are great ones, than people who are not actors. And that is such a misconception in the public that drives me insane when people link acting with her, or she had the performance of a lifetime. She couldn't have had the performance of a lifetime because the performance has to be sustained by truth. Performance in lies, you can say she had the performance in lies of a lifetime.
That's a great question. I wish I could say yes to that.
The question was, do you feel confident?
I want to say yes to you, but it wouldn't be true. Even if you think,
Oh, that's a great question. Do you feel confident? Oh, I'm going to sigh because I have to think of what I'm going to say. Savannah. Facial muscles reacting because there's tension in the face because she's now relaxed, knowing that she's lying continuously. Gestures, again, taking time to find out the way that you want to manipulate in the way that you go on with the conversation. The facial muscles are tensed up when you're not relaxed. And what makes you not relaxed is the fact that you know you're lying. So if you're saying, I want to say that to you, I want to say that I'm confident, but that would be lying. Oh, so she's trying to put into, I want to say that to you, but that would be lying. As if to say again to us, in her mind, the stupid audience members, that she never lies. So she's making sure that she's letting us know that if she would say that she is confident, she'd be lying. This is the first time that she would be lying, because everything else that she's done up to now and everything else that she said up to now is all true. Do you see how her mind works? Playing with us as if we're the stupidest people on earth. We see you, Amber. We see you. We're not stupid. We understand human behavior.
that I'm lying. You still couldn't tell me, look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
After the 6-week trial, the jury found Heard defamed Depp in a 2018 op-ed in which she wrote she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never mentioned her ex-husband by name. Depp denied the abuse allegations in court. Heard won just one of 3 claims in her countersuit against her ex-husband. That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge ruled against Depp in a similar case in the UK, in which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife beater.
There was another trial, handled it dealt with the same substantive issues that had even more evidence in. And
The fact that she is actually believing that the social media was the unfairness that led to the verdict that finally said that Johnny Depp was innocent. He's not a wife beater. I mean, can you imagine to know that you have this woman that you were in a relationship with? You've helped her personally, you've helped her family, you've helped her life and her acting, because she would have never gotten to be in Aquaman without him, because she's just really a bad actress. Horrible. Because she can lie in such a way that great actors would not be able to do. Great actors are trained so much in social, emotional, physical understanding of their humanity, and they become, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them, they become activists for what truth is. They have to portray truth in the characters that they're playing so they can make the audiences believe those human characters. She could have learned so much from him. She could have been so grateful to have such a guru of acting, such a great actor as Johnny Depp, but she was envious of his success. As we heard in those audio tapes, she was mocking him for his brilliance in the characters that he was loved in by so many people all over the globe. So when she is writing an article, which the trial in the States was about, talking about her emotional abuse by Johnny Depp, the wife beater, as they called them in the trial in England, where there were no jurors, there was just a judge. So the trial in England was completely politically correct. Of course, if the woman, no matter who it is, a liar, Amber Heard comes out and she says that she was abused, she's part of the Me Too movement, she has to be believed. And the man is automatically guilty before he's given a chance to actually prove himself to be innocent. So she's going back to something that she is grabbing on because she is in a state of denial. She was the abuser of Johnny Depp. We heard that, we saw it in the trial, we heard that. She had not one factual act to demonstrate her narrative. Her narrative was based on lies. When an actor's performance is based on lies, people walk out of the theater because they don't believe it. So they go home. They don't want to waste their time. Why would we believe her then? When this is in life of the consequences for Johnny Depp, life and death of his career, who he is, the career of an actor such as Johnny Depp, because of the greatness with which he takes that on, is a personal thing. That's his artistry. That's not a choice that he made to become an artist. You become an artist when there's nothing else that you can do, because the artistry in you, the art in you is needing for you to be the vessel with which you go to create those characters that will help audiences, that will make audiences identify with the flaws of those characters, with the qualities of those characters. So this is her trying to take his life away, his entire life, personal, creative, everything.
My evidence was largely kept out. Really important pieces of evidence kept
That's
out.
not true. That's not true. You had
Done
no
differently,
evidence.
handled differently
Done
by
differently,
a
handled
judge instead of a
differently.
jury.
Some evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some people,
Things were done differently in England. Things were done differently, and you approve of the way they were done because you won. Well, not you, because the trial was against the Sun, the newspaper, but she was one of the witnesses for those people. So when they came against Johnny Depp and they found him guilty of all the lies that she was vomiting out of her mouth, she loved that trial because that was done differently. The audience also is supposed to believe her when saying that the trial in England was a fair one, but this one here was not. So she's again putting down the judicial system here. She's putting down the judge. She's putting down everybody. She's putting down everybody because that's what she does. She plays the victim all the time. She doesn't take any responsibility. Take responsibility. Take responsibility. I want to hear just one time where she's taking responsibility for something that she said or done. She's never said that. That's another thing that you cannot do as an actor, as a great actor. If you don't take responsibility in the characters that you're playing, if you're not allowing the audiences to see your flaws, the audience is not going to relate to you because nobody can be perfect without flaws. We all have flaws at the same time that we have qualities. But if I'm only playing my qualities and I'm showing you how perfect I am, people are going to walk away because they don't relate to that, because they know that's absurd. That's a caricature of a human being. So easy to see. It's so easy to see. how she was lying throughout the entire case. And she's still wondering why she lost. Is she completely detached from reality? I'm sorry if she is, but if she really needs help, she should get help. She should get professional help, because that's a mental thing that I don't want to get into because I'm not equipped for it. But my God, I feel bad. Get the help, Amber. You'll feel better once you will have someone that you can talk to, like a real medical professional that will put you in touch with the reality of what's going on. You're not going to have to suffer so much because you've muddied yourself in the muddy water that you have created for yourself. So now it's hard. That's why you're making all those gestures. You can't relax.
They just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how
I
it's
would
been
not blame
covered
the average person.
and not think that it is.
Okay. The people are disgusted by you, Amber, Savannah, the reporter. I forget her last name, but she's from the Today Show, and this is an exclusive interview from the Today Show with her. And then she doesn't want to sound as rude. She's bringing both of them, referring to Johnny Depp, because they're these movie stars. I don't even know why she's putting Amber into the same category with Johnny Depp, because there's no, this is where Johnny Depp is in his artistry and she has none, because first she has to realize that she's a liar before she can even begin to work on her creative process and become an actress. So Savannah, the reporter, the person that's interviewing, she's trying to be a little bit nice. So she's not just putting oh, everybody thinks you're disgusting. She's bringing Johnny Depp into the mix just to make it a little bit more, I don't know, well received by people, that she's not being so vicious towards Amber. But you can see in her face, in the interviewer's face, that she's kind of like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I've never done that. So she's having to navigate this, still trying to be politically correct in so many ways, because the media, the national media, have been on her side for the longest time. Political correctness all around. I forgot what I was going to say next. Let's watch it again to see this part.
Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First.
Okay, I think I have to go back because she calls people average or something.
I would not blame the average person for looking.
I would not blame the average person. What is the average person, Amber? Who is the average person that you're referring to? Like, seriously, I don't understand who the average person is. Can you please tell me who that is? Because you seem to be so superior to the average person. What makes you not an average person? I'm an average person. I'm an acting teacher, simple teacher. I'm an average person, proud to be an average person. Why are you considering the people to be average person in the way that you say it, as if they don't know, they don't have the capacity to understand as much as you do? You are an average person. The only thing that made you believe that you're not an average person is because you manipulated your way into the circle of a great actor who, I bet, he even calls himself an average person, because that's how humble and down to earth he is. You manipulated yourself in the circle. You brought your friends who were taking apartments, penthouses, money. They were living off of this man that you're finding to be so horrible. So I don't understand where you put yourself. What are you? Are you an average person? What do you consider yourself to be? Please tell me. What do you consider yourself to be? I would be really happy to know, if not average, since we average people don't understand you because you're so much more educated and you're so much more informed or whatever. I don't know what you mean by that. What does that mean? What the hell do you mean?
This and how it's been covered, and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is not only about
Johnny Depp is not a Hollywood brat. You're a Hollywood brat by association with someone who has worked his entire life to be able to get to where he is. Because great acting requires a lot of ongoing lifetime work and sacrifice and responsibility to tell stories that connect us all. So you may consider yourself to be a Hollywood brat. I don't think he considers himself to be a Hollywood brat. So don't put him again in your little circle, because you're not part of the level. You're not at the level of humanity that Johnny Depp is. If Johnny Depp were to go and say, I feel that my humanity was detached from me, I would believe him, because he's also showed his flaws in his humanity. You call your humanity being detached when you've never even showed an inch of your humanity. Average brat, Hollywood brat. I don't know what you see yourself to be as. That's the problem. You're not looking at yourself to see and to observe what and who you are. That's where all the derails in you come from. You're not accepting the reality. Accept the reality of who you are first.
our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech.
Thank you.
It doesn't
Savannah.
protect lies that amount to defamation.
Thank
And that
you.
was the issue in the case.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
You can't
exactly.
go into the free speech.
Yes, exactly. Why are you going yes, exactly, when she just slapped you because you made another stupid statement? When you're talking about the First Amendment free speech, and she came back at you to say, hold on, there's more detail to that than your generalized statement, because you like to make everything general, because that's easier to lie when everything is general. So when she says, yeah, well, here's the thing, free speech refers to truth speaking. There's no free speech when you're creating stories, when you're calling a person an abuser, and then listening to what she's telling you and maybe react and acknowledge the fact that, yeah, she's right. Okay, I'm not going to be able to actually reveal my lies, but she may be right. You don't do that. You go on and you approve of what she's saying as if that's what you said from the beginning. That's not what you said from the beginning. She corrected you. But then you're going, yes, that's correct, as if she never corrected you. So you're playing us again. We're seeing those things, Amber. This is what I'm saying. We're seeing that. So stop freaking thinking that we're stupid.
Protect you if you go into a crowded theater
Where
and
did
you
you read
scream
this?
fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks.
Oh
My
my God,
understanding of
the
what that
Greeks.
means is
Yeah.
not just the freedom to speak.
If you want to speak about the Greeks, I think you would have been much more informed as an actor, and it would have helped you so much more if you would have paid more attention to the Greeks and their acting from 2000 years ago. I think that if you wanted to do yourself a service and say something of the Greeks, it should have been about you learning about the first actor who was able to spontaneously, instinctually know that he has to reveal real emotions on stage. Because if he doesn't reveal real emotions of a human on stage, the public will throw tomatoes at him and they will have him walk off the stage. So instinctually, what he did, he took the ashes of his dead son and brought that to his acting. So he brought real life loss and grief, real, not lying, not pretending, and used it to be able to make emotions for the audience as the character credible and believable from a place of specific original pain and grief that he was feeling. That's what you should have said about the Greeks. That's where you should have informed yourself about the Greeks. How about that?
It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
The truth is the
to
word.
power.
And
Yes.
that was the issue.
And that's all
The
I spoke.
truth-
And I
is-
spoke it to power and I paid the
I
price.
spoke it to power. The truth
In the
to
closing
power.
arguments, the
The
Depp
truth to power. Again, using a huge general statement that if anybody hears it, of course, we're going to pay attention to because it sounds really good. Truth. I spoke truth to power, truth to power. And because I spoke truth to power, which she should have said, I spoke lies to power, because then she would have been more accepted by the audience, by the way, more accepted by the jurors, because for the first time, she would have taken the responsibility that she had lied about so many things having to do with Johnny Depp. So if she would have said, I spoke lies to power, I would have started to have a little bit of respect and say, you know what? She made a mistake. She's acknowledging that she made a mistake now. She wants to apologize, having put this man through hell for the last 6 years. And that would have been a turnaround, and anybody on this planet will give people a second chance when they see that they're accepting their flaws, they're accepting responsibility for what they did. So instead of saying truth to power, you should have said lies to power, because then I would have turned around and I would have said, I'm glad that you're finally taking responsibility. Thank you for bringing your humanity for the first time to be revealed. No, she goes on, truth to power, because I spoke truth to power. And Savannah says, truth, that's the thing that they didn't believe you told.
said, called your testimony the performance of a lifetime
The performance of
and
a
said you were
lifetime,
acting.
that you were acting.
What do you say to that?
They called your testimony the performance of a lifetime. They said you were acting. Savannah, I think you're an amazing interviewer. I think you're a great host on the show, but please do not, when you're asking questions, anybody who has nothing to do with acting, please inform yourself from experts who know acting. Imagine if I were to start talking about analysis of her character having to do with the law. I don't know anything about the law. I don't know enough about the law to be able to speak to that. So please, when you say the performance of a lifetime, because that's what people saw, when she's being credited with the performance of a lifetime, I just wanna, because the performance of a lifetime means Johnny Depp in the numerous roles that he did. Those are performances of a lifetime. Performance of a lifetime means integrity brought to that performance, authenticity brought to that performance, credibility, personal pain, personal joys, everything that makes you a human being, you bring to a performance, then it is merited to be called the performance of a lifetime. And people still think that performance is something that's pretend or lie. Those are bad acting acts. They're bad acting performances. I don't even want to call them performances because that's when it gets confusing. They're just badly acted testimonies, badly acted monologue, badly acted scenes. Don't call them performances. It has that merited, earned element to it. You were acting. And then she says you were acting. You were acting badly. Don't say you were acting, because if you finish the sentence with you were acting, that again is giving her credit to be a great actress. She's not. The definition of acting from the one and only actor studio, where acting was forever changed and turned into what became known as the art of experiencing, because it demanded reliving into those imaginary circumstances. It was at the actor studio with Marlon Brando, James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Bradley Cooper, Ellen Burstyn, Harvey Keitel, and everyone in between, who get up on that stage to work on their craft, to be able to experience, to live truthfully in whatever the characters are going through. So that is acting. Do not give her in the same sentence that she was acting, because you are giving her credit by saying that she's a great actress. You are acting badly. Say that, Savannah. I can come on your show and explain more.
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony.
This is the one that gets to me. Oh my God. Can you just believe what she said? Can you guys just believe what she said? Okay, I'm going to have to leave it at this for now. And I will continue, because this beat of her talking about, says the lawyer who represented the man who made the world believe that he has scissor hands for fingers. There's so much in this beat, and I will explain where beat comes from. But for now, I'm just going to stop here. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to continue with this first interview and then the other one. We left off where she makes the reference and the comment about, says the lawyer who is representing the guy, meaning Johnny Depp, who convinced the world that he has scissors for fingers. And we stopped right when she said that. So I'm going to take it from right when she says that, because that beat has been confusing a lot of people on social media. And it's okay that it's confusing a lot of people, because as I said, the public doesn't know the entire world of the acting process and creative process of the actors that they must go through to understand that acting is completely the opposite of pretending. People still think to this day, after so many years since acting was first performed in the ancient hills of Greeks, there wasn't a lot of insight for the general public of what goes behind closed doors in rehearsals. So of course people don't know. But this is the beat that was just confusing everybody. Like, huh? What is she saying that? Is she cuckoo? Here we go. Hi, everyone. Thank you for following me on Hey Stella podcast and my YouTube. M&M Art of Experience is the YouTube.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress. So I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
The Depp team argued that you were the abuser, that you...
This is the beat that I was talking about. The beat is a name that is from the Konstantin Stanislavski system inventor from Russia 100 and some years ago, who was trying to tell his actors that he was working with that he wants to develop an acting form that doesn't pretend. He wanted to develop an acting that will have the actors be real and honest and portray characters that are human, so that the audience will relate to those characters and to the actors. So acting, beginning with him in Russia and then developed by other teachers such as Lee Strasberg at the Actor Studio, adapted for the American Actor, with Marlon Brando and James Dean and Bradley Cooper, who I happen to go to school with, Dustin Hoffman, Ellen Burstyn, Al Pacino. They've all been through the doors of the famous Actor Studio I'm privileged to be a member of for the last 20 years, to keep working on their craft, to be able to do what Konstantin Stanislavski's want was. And his objective was to be honest people, to be honest in their performances, not to pretend in their performances, not to play to the audience, not to go there because your ego is what you want to please as the actor, but quite the opposite. Acting is living truthfully in the given circumstances. Acting's definition is not pretending under the given circumstances. You never will find that pretending. So she, in this beat where she talks about the lawyer of Johnny Depp, supposedly, who's saying that her testimony and that she is a liar, is the same lawyer who's representing the guy, meaning Johnny Depp, who's made the world believe that he has scissors for fingers, referring to the character from Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands, American fantasy romance film directed by Tim Burton. They collaborate on everything, Johnny Depp and Tim Burton. Johnny Depp plays an artificial humanoid named Edward, an unfinished creation who has scissor blades instead of hands. The young man is taken in by the suburb family and falls in love with their teenage daughter, played by Winona Ryder. Additional roles were played by Diane Wiest. She's a member studio actor, and so on and so forth. Tim Burton conceived Edward Scissorhands from his childhood upbringing in California. The plot is one evening, an elderly woman tells her granddaughter the bedtime story of a young man named Edward who has scissor blades for hands. The creation of an old inventor, Edward is a humanoid who was almost completed. The inventor homeschooled Edward but suffered a heart attack and did so before giving Edward real hands, leaving him permanently unfinished. Most of the neighborhoods are fascinated by Edward and befriend them, except for the eccentric, religious, fantastic Esmeralda and Kim's boyfriend. Edward repays the neighborhood for their kindness by trimming their hedges. I don't want to go through the whole thing. I think, from what I remember, I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but he portrays what Johnny Depp does so brilliantly. He portrays characters that always have a struggle. They always have a struggle, and they always, through him, reveal that they are characters that can be believable because he doesn't portray them in a perfect world. So when she's referring to the guy, Johnny Depp, who makes the world believe that he has scissor hands for fingers, she's trying to say that he's pretending, that he's lying to the public, and he's such a good liar to be playing this character and being such a good liar at pretending that he's this character. That makes him a liar on the stand, or that makes him a liar in real life, when it's completely the opposite. For somebody to be able to achieve such a performance, and you can attribute performance to Johnny Depp, but not to Amber Heard, because she hasn't earned that merit. She hasn't earned the status of being linked to performance, since those are only greatly achieved by few actors with a lot of work. So when she calls him a liar because he's such good at lying to be a character with scissor hands for fingers, she's telling the audience again, on top of the fact that we all knew that she was a bad actress, she's telling the audience again through that statement that she knows nothing about acting and she's a mediocre actor. Mediocrity is what you can link to her. So she's giving herself away as being a mediocre actor who doesn't even understand the process. She's so confused by what acting is that she's bad at it in life and in fictional stories. Nobody's making a big deal about it, Savannah, because she's not an expert in acting. She's not an expert in the fact that great actors are doing exactly what I was talking about. She also believes a little bit of what Amber says, because that's what most people believe, because there are not a lot of actors in the world who actually achieve great performances. There are a few all over the world. Most actors are bad. So Savannah should have come back to her and say exactly what I just said, but you're misinterpreting what great acting performance means, Amber. You're misinterpreting that. Don't you know what acting is? Acting is having to be honest, having to deal with the struggles you have as a human. You have to find the struggles that you have as a human first to bring those struggles to the character, in this case, Edward Scissorhands, who you can only imagine how he being seen as not a normal person, being seen as someone that was looked at to be a freak, which who cannot relate to such a character? You don't have to have scissor hands for fingers. You don't have to have scissors for fingers, scissor hands, whatever you want to call them, in order to relate with such a character. Because no matter what, all of us have our struggles. All of us have our imperfections that at some point in our lives, those were made fun of by bullies and people in society who were trying to pretend that they're all perfect and smart and they know it all. So they were putting us down the same way that she's doing. She was pretending. She doesn't know how to allow her struggles, her conflict, her inner emotional conflict to be evident and to be on the surface so people can relate to her. That's what makes her a bad actress in interviews in real life and as an actress in a fictional story. So please, Amber, learn the definition and learn the process of great acting so you don't show your stupidity and mediocrity on a show like this by saying that great actor is Johnny Depp can pretend and lie so well. It's completely the opposite. He's so informed on the humanity. He's so an analyst in humanity because he's a great actor that he cannot portray humanity in the way that you describe it and in the way that you portray it through lies and fakeness because he's too involved in the artistic process. He knows the demand it requires and the responsibility for it, to give it to the people, to share it with people at the high level of his capacity as an artist, because he's illuminating the human spirit. So he's not going to lie about it. He's not going to pretend about it when taking on a character. And Savannah, please inform yourself or have somebody, like I said in the other part, have somebody help you with, you're doing an interview with actor, considered an actor. When you're doing an interview with an actor, the same way that when you do interviews with other professionals, I'm sure you get an expert to come and inform you on that particular field. So why don't people do the same thing when it comes to acting?
Instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes in which you acknowledge hitting. There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight. And here you are on tape saying you did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically.
In an abusive situation, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you say that again 2 or 3 times because it's almost like you have a script in your mind that you have had for so many years, and you are relying on that script to get you through. But again, audiences are not stupid. You have had audio tapes that were presented to the jurors in the trial. You have had on social media, people who were listening and playing them and sharing them everywhere. And all of them show to the people the fact being that you were the one starting the fight. The fact that you now have an answer to that question by Savannah in saying that it was a negotiation tactic on your part to subdue what was going on, because when you have an abuser that's physical, sexual, and emotional as Johnny Depp, you have to negotiate with them. If anybody is an abuse victim, from what I heard, so many women that had the bravery to come out and speak about, they were so scared. They were so scared in fighting for their survival, for their life. And you talk about that your life was endangered, or you had to negotiate. Why? You didn't have to negotiate. This is not, again, truth telling. This is not factual. Nobody believes this because your story is not making sense. Even when you write a fictional story, the story has to have an arc. The story has to have a through line, and it has to be justified and based into what people can believe to be a real story. Your stories are not real. They're in your head, fantastical, but then you have to call them to be fantastical. You can't take fantastical stories and throw them against a human being and take his life away for 6 years and bring down his reputation, because there were so many people who were stupid to believe you. They didn't do their research. They just took the story as is because it's so much easier to be politically correct. So just don't have an answer for everything. An answer for everything is that there's something that you pretend in being perfect. There's something that you think is not missing. There's something that you think you don't have to learn because you know it all. The more you know, the more you understand how much you need to know. You're the opposite. The less you know, you think you understand everything. So just for 1 second, don't have an answer for everything.
Resources that say you or I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh,
Yeah.
tell the world, Johnny
Yeah,
Depp,
mocking him
I,
for
a
his
man,
brilliance
the
in
victim of
acting.
domestic violence.
What about
20-second clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours.
It doesn't matter, there's 20-second clips. First of all, that's not true, but let's just say that that's true, 20-second clips. If you're so afraid for your life, if your life is at risk during the relationship with this man, you cannot say that you are going to have the courage in the relationship that's so abusive towards you that you're going to be mocking him for I don't know how many minutes on the audio tapes that we listen to. And guess what? That's a lot of telling about who you are, because you're not just mocking him in what Savannah's bringing up right now about, oh, go ahead, Johnny Depp, go tell the world. Oh, what an embarrassment. Tell the world that you as a man are an abuse victim. Oh, go ahead. See who's going to believe you. That was one, which gives away all the lies that you have, because you're already knowing that he's not going to go put his reputation online and expose the ugliness in his life as he admits to it, but not the ugliness that you put on him. You didn't believe that he had the courage to do that. Well, acting and actors who are great, they have to have the courage to go beyond what feels nice and comfortable in their everyday life, because they have to share their personal struggles that they have. So you didn't even know what a brilliant actor was because you were just mocking him for doing that, for being one, mocking him from the beginning of his career when he did 21st Jump Street to, oh, the great actor Johnny Depp. If you're able to do that and you say that you're scared at the same time, that makes absolutely no freaking sense. You would have been stopped if he was the abuser that you portray him to be. You would have been stopped in a minute and punched in the face and dragged by the hair and pulled up the stairs and kicked in the ribs and in the back and then turned around. Who can endure that physical abuse that you describe and come out with not a bruise? I mean, what are you? Do you not have blood running to your veins? What are you? So you mocked him about him not having the courage in coming out to say that he was the abused. But you again lack the understanding of what acting demands of people first, to portray and to expose their ugly side. But you didn't know that. So you didn't believe that he was going to do it because you're so lacking what acting is, and that it involves everything that's personal, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Those clips are excerpt from.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He
And
says
it doesn't-
he never hit you.
He can't-
Never. Is
Yeah.
that a lie?
Yes, it is.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you instigate physical violence?
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and
Oh my
support the
God.
person they depend on.
Did they all come in and lie in
Yeah,
court?
so now she's calling
I am
everybody
not
who
here to
can-
call any of these witnesses any names.
But you just did. Do you see how you keep contradicting the statement that you're making with the next statement? That's what you did on the stand. You're not calling those people who were witnesses to come and testify for Johnny Depp under oath. You're not calling them anything, but you just did. You just said that the reason they were lying, the reason that they came is because they all are looking up to Johnny Depp because of his status. If that's the case, then how come you didn't have your so-called friends who were living free off of Johnny Depp? How come they didn't testify for him if you believe that everybody was mesmerized by his character? They didn't testify for him, and they didn't testify for you live. They had the same depositions from the other trial, I believe. But how come most of them are not your friends anymore? You have to think of how people are perceiving this, what you're saying, because it's all based on nothing. You're changing, going from, oh, there's a pillow there that's on the couch, it's yellow. But I don't see the color being yellow. If Savannah said that to me, I would come back to be you and I would say, I didn't say it was yellow. I thought it was yellow. That's how you take this whole trial. That's how you took this whole scandal and you blew it out of proportion based on nothing.
Just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as a person who sat there.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
Exactly.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. There's so much, I have so much regret. I freely and openly.
There's so much. Did you catch that? There's so much. She wanted to actually say something that was truthful, and then she catches herself and she says, I have so much regret. There's so much that I did. Her instinctual subconscious was pushing her in the direction of the truth, because I think we do have the best in us available to all of us, but we need to tap into it. And if we're not used to tap into it, if it's not being rehearsed, if it's not being practiced, the same way that you practice to get in shape physically, you're not practicing your soul. You're not doing the exercises of the soul. That's what Stanislavski, the guru of acting that I speak about all the time, who came up with the art of experiencing, to call acting, because it's so important to understand that it's about experiencing in reality with the truth of who you are. Bring it to the character, blend with imagination. So she was intended to go to say there are so many, oh, I have so many regrets. But she was almost on that verge of actually revealing that she actually lied and she was the instigator of all the fights and everything that was happening. But then she catches herself because she knows how to only do bad acting. And I mean that in doing, in life, stage, screen.
Involuntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong.
That's another giveaway. If you do not know the difference between right and wrong, and if you say that you did not recognize yourself in some of the behavior and the language that you use, which was not right, okay, you're taking some responsibility about 0.1% of what you did, but you're still going to save yourself and to save face by saying that you were brought to not even be able to distinguish between good and bad. If an actor is not able to distinguish between what's fiction and what is reality, which I think this is what you're doing, I would tell that person the same way that Strasberg would tell those actors. For example, there was an actor on the actor studio stage during the Strasberg, the artistic director of the actor studio, and he was so living his character that by the end of it, when the curtain call happened and the applause happened, he was still emotionally so absorbed into the story of that character, and he was crying throughout the applause of the people. When the show was over, oh my God, that was such an amazing, isn't he such an extraordinary actor? He's such an extraordinary actor. And then I think it was Strasberg who said, no, you have to know the line between when the scene is finished and the reality as you, the person, start. You can be blurring the line between fiction and reality. You need to go see somebody and you need to have somebody who's going to help you with that. And it's not acting. First, you have to heal yourself. First, you have to heal your soul in order to do the soul exercises that Stanislavski talks about. So you can't say that you were brought to the confusion of not knowing what's right or wrong. That gives you away that you didn't know the reality and you didn't want to know the reality and the fiction, the line between the reality and fiction. That's why you're blurring the two and you're taking a man's life and his public life, his creative life, his personal life, his family, his friends. And your objective is to take him down instead of you raising yourself up. You know, they say about great actors, they have to raise themselves up to the characters because it's so much easier to bring those characters down to what feels comfortable to you and only show what you want to be seen. But to raise yourself up to that character is to divulge, is to dissect, to open up, to do an x-ray of who you are from the mental to the physical to the emotional, like you talk about so much. Why don't you put those words into what you need to do in your training as a person with a medical professional and then with an acting coach who can help you? Because from what I'm seeing, the acting coach you're working with is not helping you at all.
Always continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful. It was very, very toxic. We were awful to each other. You know, I made a lot of mistakes.
It was toxic. It was very awful. We were very awful to each other. But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I have to remind you how much I love this man, because if I only take a little bit of responsibility right now to say that I was also toxic, we were both toxic, and I don't say, and it was beautiful, that doesn't justify the fact that you said all of the things that were so negative and so ugly about Johnny Depp. and why you stayed. So you have to bring in, which you used all the time in the trial. This is such a repetitive pattern that you have. I've seen it all over the trial when you testified, Amber. But it was beautiful. Does the audience, as I'm looking at them and I'm scaring them away, do you, the audience, see? I loved this man. I love this man making that statement and saying that. You don't have to take responsibility. It's almost like that will be justification enough for why you stayed in the marriage. When he was dragging you down the stairs, punching you in the face with his rings, those horrible big rings, horrifically large. I remember somebody many years ago when I was in college in Romania, by accident, we were in the gym. They hit me in the nose. My God, it wasn't even the description of what you say you went through. That was an accidental thing. And he hit me with his foot. I wasn't good for like, I don't know how many weeks. My eyes, even like right here under my eyes, it got so blue. My nose got blue and it hurt so much. And you're describing 100 times worse, 1,000 times worse, but there were no facts and medical evidence to anything. But there were pictures that you took of everything else, but you never thought to turn and do a selfie of those. You brought the little red bruise picture that I have when I wake up because I'm sleeping on this side and the friction between the pillow, or I get it when I get a little bit of sunburn. The cut on the lip, I get them, they're like herpes. Everybody gets them and they bleed for I don't know how many days. They crack up the same way that it looked on you. And another thing, you were talking about what? The makeup. I could put away all of those bruises and punches in the nose and in the hair loss. I could use makeup. Then why didn't anybody say, then if you're such an expert and you have such magical makeup kit to be able to cover all of that, then how come you couldn't cover the dark circles that you have, that we all have as people? Why couldn't you cover those? It doesn't make sense again. You're not having facts to stand on. I don't know. I get angry because she's getting away with being invited to continue to lie. If I see actors doing what she's doing right now that I work with, I stop them and I say, okay, get off the stage. Let's go back into the rehearsing mode, because what you're doing right now, nobody will believe. So let's talk about it. What is it that is not giving you the freedom to reveal the struggles of your humanity and the truth and accept responsibility for who you are? Unless you do that, we can't go to create a character. I would stop them, but she's allowed and she's being interviewed on these big platforms to continue her lies. Unfairness in the world, you know?
A lot of mistakes. But I've always told the truth.
I've always told the truth.
Heard's lawyers
Are you
say they plan to
serious?
appeal that verdict.
I've always said the truth. If you've always spoke the truth, you don't have to say so many times that you've always said the truth. And the one truth that's not yours, that's not Johnny's, it's the truth that you were lying and you're guilty and he's innocent. So leave him alone to continue to change the world in his extraordinary interpreted and lived characters, because he puts all of who he is and his imagination into all of them. So we can be reminded of our great qualities and of our flaws and all the gray in between. You talk about the gray in between. It's not black and white. Well, you're portraying it to be black and white. You don't know how to navigate the territory of the between the black and white on the spectrum of humanity. He knows how to do that. You are so general in your interpretation of life and who you are, and as an actress, therefore, that you don't understand the gray area that you're asking the jurors to have understood, as if they didn't. They did. They saw through everything. If I speak the truth, I don't have to keep saying I'm speaking the truth. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. You know I love you. If I love that person, our interaction is going to be proof enough of my love. I don't have to keep saying it. I only say it when I know somewhere in my deepest of my soul that I don't, and I'm lying. So I'm letting him know that I am loving him. I'm trying to convince him of my love for him. And I feel guilty. So I feel the guilt is bringing me to say 1,000 times, I love you. I'm speaking the truth. Please.
As for the notion from her that there was evidence allowed in that UK trial that could have potentially made a difference last week, Depp's attorney said here on Today that the evidence presented in the latest trial far exceeded the UK one, two different processes, and they believe the jury got it right. We have a lot more of our conversation to share with you tomorrow morning on Today, including Heard's response to some of the other allegations made about her in court and her answer when I asked how she feels about Johnny Depp now. We've got lots more of that. Our exclusive interview with Amber Heard will also air on a special edition of Dateline. That's Friday night at 8/7 Central. There was a lot to talk about.
Thank you so much. I just have such a pleasure to do this analysis from the point of view of an acting coach and of an actress, because I learned so much of the psychological behavior of what it means to be a human being because of working as an acting coach and actress. Working on characters, you have to dig deep into their essence to find out how to help the actors play them the best they can by bringing themselves, their imagination, and making those characters credible to the public and identifiable and relatable. So it's really cool how I can do the same analysis that I would do with actors on script in real life with people going through a trial, with people giving interviews to see if they're being honest. There's so many tools that I've learned in my so many years in this career that I can just detect the truth from fact. I can detect credibility from farcical, the same way that I do with characters and actors. I can do it with the real people. So to do that is such a wonderful thing for me. And that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus my expertise. I know it sounds arrogant. I hope it doesn't. My expertise in acting, and bring that and shine that light on different everyday happenings. So thank you so much. Go to my YouTube, Mihud Method, Art of Experiencing, or Hey Stella Podcast.